Okay, Torah concept in the New Testament, put away all malice. The Torah contains several direct parallels to Paul's exhortation in Ephesians 4:31, put away all bitterness, wrath, anger, clamor, slander, and malice. The Torah repeatedly emphasizes rejecting hatred, grudges, and malice, and instead commands forgiveness, compassion, and justice. So the key Torah parallels to putting away malice, first example, Leviticus 19, verse 17-18. You shall not hate your brother in your heart. You shall not take vengeance or bear a grudge, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. This is an explicit prohibition of hatred and grudges. Love replaces malice. Next example, Exodus chapter 23, verses 4-5. Help your enemy's donkey if it is struggling. Acts of kindness towards adversaries reject malice and promote reconciliation. Next example, Deuteronomy 15, 7-10. Open your hand generously to the poor, and your heart shall not be grieved when you give. Generosity without resentment counters bitterness and cultivates compassion. Next example, Genesis 50, verses 19-21. Joseph forgives his brothers. He said, what you meant for evil against me, but God meant it for good. Forgiveness instead of revenge models release of bitterness and malice. Next example, Deuteronomy 24, verses 14-15. Do not oppress the poor or withhold wages. Justice and empathy prevent resentment and exploitation. So the key observations here is, one is bitterness as a grudge-holding. The clearest Torah parallels Leviticus 19, verse 18, which forbids bearing grudges. This directly aligns with Paul's command to put away bitterness and malice. 2, forgiveness as covenant values. Stories like Joseph forgiving his brothers show that bitterness is overcome by trusting God's providence and choosing reconciliation over revenge. And 3, generosity and justice. Torah laws stress fairness and compassion, preventing resentment from taking root. And 4, love as antidote. Both the Torah and Ephesians framed love as the opposite of malice. The Torah says, love your neighbor as yourself. And Paul says, be kind and tenderhearted, forgive one another. So the Torah's approach is structural and covenantal. It insists that hatred, grudges, and malice are incompatible with covenant love. Instead, the Torah-based antidote is forgiveness and compassion and justice. Paul's exhortation in Ephesians 4 is essentially a restatement of what these Torah principles applied to life in the early church. We note these themes across Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, and so forth, is so it's possible to visually trace the progression from the narrative, from Joseph's forgiveness to Torah, Leviticus, and Deuteronomy, to ethical practices we find in Ephesians. This is how Paul taught Torah. The Torah has not passed away.